So, for our next session, I'd like to introduce my colleague Clare Paling. Clare's recently joined the Active Cumbria team and is a themed lead officer for older adults and is responsible for the Live Longer Better in Cumbria programme. Clare's going to set out plans for the programme in Cumbria and provide an overview of the Reconditioning Fund that we're launching today to support the achievement of the programme aims and objectives. So please welcome Clare Paling.
So, I am Clare Paling and I do work for Active Cumbria, and Active Cumbria is part of the County Council's Public Health Service. I am used to being in front of crowds, at least this big, if not bigger, but usually it's to do an aerobic warm-up for a walk or a run, so you have to forgive me if I break into a dance routine or knock out a few stretches, old habits die hard. I'm a copious note-taker, personally, but please don't feel that you need to do the same this morning. We have got a programme overview that we're going to share with you before you leave today that's got all the information in it, and also, as is the way these days, everything you need is on our website too. So if you're not already aware, Active Cumbria as an organisation has a simple purpose: to improve lives through physical activity. We're one of over 30 active partnerships who are part of the national network and community of practice and learning for Live Longer Better. And the aim of my presentation this morning is to introduce you to our new programme for older adults, Live Longer Better in Cumbria, and it's our regional interpretation of the national programme that Muir introduced you to first thing. I'm also going to launch the Reconditioning Fund, which is our designated fund to support elements of this programme. So this infographic shows some of the local context and fortuitously picks up on some of the points that Colin made earlier too. So we will have a significantly higher proportion of adults over the age of 65 by the year 2043. I'm going to be one of those numbers. Raise your hand if you will be too. Yeah, there's a little bit of shyness going on there.
We're trying to do the maths.
If you're doing the maths and you suddenly put your hand up later, no, it's not a question. So people are living longer, but they're spending longer periods of their lives in ill health. So improvement in health span is the key. Reducing the period of time towards the end of somebody's life when they might need additional care or support. Or put very basically, they're not able to get to the toilet on their own, crossing the line, as Neil calls it. And the situation is worse the poorer you are and the older you get in terms of the amount of activity that you are likely to be doing. And, as in lots of situations, the pandemic has made things worse too. So against this picture, and using our learning from the national programme, the overall aims of our local programme are aligned to our strategic and implementation plans, namely to support older adults, particularly those with or at risk of long-term health conditions, to be more active. Sounds pretty straightforward, doesn't it? So within our programme there are 4 pillars. The first is to educate. It is imperative that we change hearts and minds in relation to the ageing process and the importance of activity, physical, cognitive and emotional. You will remember those 3 words by the end of my speech. We have been conditioned to believe that decline is inevitable and to expect to have more done for and to us as we age. But the Live Longer Better revolution challenges those ill health beliefs. As you've already experienced today, and I'm so sorry it got cut short, Samira is very, very inspiring. And within this pillar we want as many people as possible to hear straight from him themselves through some e-learning that he's produced with a company called Learning with the Experts, and I'm going to tell you a bit more about that. As well as through campaigns that we will lead as the Active Partnership. Knowledge is power. It is the elixir of life. And we want to empower you and the older adults that you support to have the the best understanding of how to age as well as possible. And the second pillar is to activate. Active Cumbria is positioned to engage partners and providers in targeting their work to tackle lots of issues. But for older adults, these that are listed are going to be the priority. Again, you've heard some of these phrases today, but it's worth revisiting them again. Increasing resilience and health span is so important to reduce the need for health and social care in the short and the long run. Falls and frailty can be prevented. While we're facing the prevention paradox of trying to prove that we've stopped something from happening, we do also have tried, tested, trusted programs to rebuild what's been lost through an activity. And as Neil said, dementia has become one of the most feared diseases. So we need to learn that we can look after our brains in the same way that we kind of learned that we need to look after our hearts and our lungs. Cognitive decline is not inevitable, in the same way that physical decline can be avoided as well. And physical activity is safe, even for people living with symptoms of multiple long-term conditions. And with regard to long-term conditions, the 2021 consensus statement is very clear, and we will keep repeating the message and reinforcing it, even for our oldest older adults, that regular physical activity in combination with standard care has an important role in the management and prevention of many long-term conditions. But very, very simply, the benefits outweigh the risks. This is such an opportunity to focus on interventions that are effective and purposeful in all of our conversations about older adults. The third pillar is network, and it's just been music to my ears to hear that appetite and the willingness for networking and collaborating in the room this morning. It's everything that I hoped. Building relationships and sharing good practice and learning is essential in a county that's as vast and varied as ours is. Thank you for being here today, especially those of you that had to travel up that awful road. And if you come from the south of the county, you know which one I mean. We really hope that you'll continue to join us for future events as well, and to keep contributing to the success of Live Longer Better in Cumbria as it evolves. It's really important to us to bring together everyone who's able to help us achieve our aims for this programme, to share learning and keep developing our understanding of what really works to recondition older people. There are already lots of conversations about ageing well happening across the county. We want to ensure that activity, physical, cognitive and emotional, are on that agenda for those forums and groups. And finally, the last pillar, possibly the one that you're here to hear about, is that we are fortunate to be able to enable some activity. We've got some doing money, and I want to tell you about that now. Only after I've reminded you what we mean by deconditioning and reconditioning. Again, if you're over the age of 30, we've passed that turning point for definite. Activity, you know the three words that follow that, is of vital importance in achieving optimal ageing. And optimal ageing is closing the gap between your actual level of ability and your best possible level of ability by preventing loss of fitness and critically regaining lost fitness through activity that challenges the brain, the body and the mind. It is never too early, those of you that are under 30 thinking I'm getting away with this, it's never too early or too late to start closing that gap. And narrowing the fitness gap is what we mean by reconditioning. So, the Reconditioning Fund, what is it and what's it for? We've managed to secure £250,000 from Cumbria Public Health. And we're going to deploy it across projects across the whole of the county and prioritising people over the age of 65. We've got about £30,000 to spend from today, following the launch, and then about £65,000 to spend from 2023 to 2026. And if you are good at maths, you'll realise that leaves a little bit of money, which we're going to use for things like this, bringing people together, networking, but also in education, to fund licenses for our health partners to be able to access that optimal ageing learning from Simua. I'm really pleased, by the way, at the number of health partners who are in the room today. We also want to share those licenses with people who are able to educate and influence our older people with regards to the importance of healthcare, and by that I mean the way that we look after ourselves, that's healthcare. And the licenses are going to be there within the application process to the Reconditioning Fund. So it's a nice simple process. We're going to ask you to write an expression of interest, do some learning, and then complete an application form. The expression of interest is very simple and very brief, you'll be pleased to hear. It asks who you are and what you'd like to do to increase activity, physical, yeah, you know the rest, which will, and Muir shared these phrases with you earlier as well, help people feel and function better. We want to prevent or delay the onset of dementia, disability and frailty, and to focus on regaining what's been lost because of lockdown, recovering strength, stamina, skill, suppleness that might have been lost in the last decade, and to recondition the body that disease and inappropriate activity has deconditioned. This expression of interest will then trigger a licence. And the e-learning is a really important part of the process, but includes 12 lessons, which are 6 minutes each. So this is not a huge ask of your time. And there's non-compulsory homework, and there's downloadable notes too. So it's a dream, it's a gift of a course to give to you. And it covers the things again that Samuel listed earlier about understanding ageing, improving fitness, coping with disease, ageism, a crucial point, changes in your brain, reducing your risk of dementia, planning with purpose, and reducing the risk of a bad death. I'd like to thank any of my guinea pigs that are in the room that have already done some of this learning. It's been really useful to get your feedback, which has been really positive. And I think anyone who's done the course, and even from just listening to him this morning, you can understand how it will improve and influence your practice and your thinking as well. We're going to use this resource to make sure that anyone who applies to the fund is approaching it with the right kind of attitude and the right kind of information, as well as keeping people that might refer into those programmes on the same page as well. On completion, the application form will be completed with the support of your locality officers from Active Cumbria. We've got experience of managing pots of money. I say we. The team has that experience of managing pots of money in the form of the Tackling Inequalities Fund and the Together Fund from Sport England. And we'll apply this to this fund in exactly the same way. So there'll be the monitoring, evaluation and learning you would expect, as well as reports and case studies. So as I said, everything you need is on our website. Links to the national programme and to our local aims, as well as a Muir about the e-learning and the expression of interest form to complete online. You can also access the application process flowchart and the detailed application criteria for the fund too, which I can assure you has been rigorously examined by the legal department from the County Council. Ask me about that another time. Physical activity is basically the intervention, but how that will look, how it will be incorporated by stealth, how it will be delivered, how it will be achieved through workforce development will be completely different depending on the locality and the partners, providers and connectors involved in the application. Excuse me. We've asked you those questions. What are the challenges? And how can we work collaboratively to overcome them and improve people's lives through physical activity? You're hopefully familiar with the Chief Medical Officer's recommendations and guidelines for physical activity for adults. Again, I won't put you on the spot, but we should be doing 150 minutes of moderate exercise a week. But what about the rest? There are other parts to those guidelines too that generally tend to be ignored. So what about building strength on 2 days a week? What about improving balance at least 2 days a week? And really critically, what about minimising sedentary behaviour? We need to recreate some of the brilliant organised community sessions and projects that there are available in different localities. But at the same time, we need to consider how we effect behaviour change, so we impact what happens the rest of the week to break up long periods of inactivity. This is just as, if not more, important. As the CMO says, some is good, more is better. What can we do to encourage our older adults to do more? We hopefully enjoyed learning and discussing what we mean by living longer better today. We're going to visualise how to address the changes we'd like to see for ourselves, for our loved ones, and for the people that we serve and support. Keep the conversation going, because not one of us here is able to achieve everything on their own. Muir corrected me, he alluded to it earlier today, and said this is not a vision, because visions usually require medication of some sort. This is a visualisation. Realisation of our visualisation will need collaboration. We want you to be inspired and talk to us about your ideas. And when I say us, this is who I mean. This is the Active Cumbria team, or some of it. Once an expression of interest in the e-learning has been completed, they will come around you and support you on the application to the fund. And you should have met everybody today, hopefully, and spoken to them. And they've been keeping their eyes and their ears peeled. They've already had brief conversations with colleagues already about, we need to think about this, we need to think about that. We're looking for opportunities and we're looking for connections. Remember, this is not a dash for cash. There's time to think about what's needed, what will be impactful, what will be revolutionary, and most importantly, what will be sustainable too. We've produced a programme overview. Please take it away, share it with your colleagues and with your partners, and don't forget to collect a copy on the way out. And remember that we're here to help, we're here to support, and click here for similar reasons as well. I've been living and breathing this programme since I started working for Active Cumbria in May. I'm really excited to see what can be achieved through all pillars of the programme, but through the Reconditioning Fund too. As Colin said, he stole my line, Vive la Révolution. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Claire. You might be able to still stay and hover. We're going to get into an opportunity of question and answers, or she's relishing that opportunity.
Fine. Email.
But I just wanted to say thank you very much, Claire. It was really brilliant to kind of succinctly outline the four components of the programme that we're looking to create in Cumbria. And also, more importantly, is to announce that Reconditioning Fund. I've worked in this industry for many, many years now, and quite often when we create programmes of all great intentions, it's the investment and the doing money that is so frequently missing from the equation. So some may say and be critical that £250,000 isn't a lot, but we are living in a cost of living crisis at the moment. It's a start for us. It will be part of our objective to go out and secure more investment, that we can keep adding to that fund to create and grow and do more. But I think it's a fantastic start, and we see fundamentally our role around this programme as being the glue. We want to enable providers to connect with the health professionals, with the health sector. We want the providers to be able to grow their activities. We want to look at them scaling it up, reaching new audiences. And we believe that this programme, and more importantly, this fund, is going to be a mechanism to achieve that. So, with that being said, we will take some opportunities for questions from the floor. So, who would like to ask the first question? And again, please, if you could, to get the mic really quite close to you and really speak up as well. Perhaps maybe turn to the rest of the audience, because we have got a couple of people with hard of hearing that have said they've struggled hearing the questions first time round. So, nice and loud, and again, who you are and where you're from. Thank you.
My name is Paul Want. I'm from the Kendal Old Grays Walking Rugby, believe it or not, we're in Kendal. We're an over 55s activity the men and women here with Irene and Christine who help me out running it. We are effectively wanting to be an end user, providing the activity which we've been doing for about the last 4 years. As an end user and dealing with the NHS effectively, what will be the requirements on us in terms of safeguarding, paperwork, you name it?
Just what you would usually expect, Paul. We obviously, something that's unique about this fund is that we're not just looking for people to have charitable status. You don't have to be a not-for-profit organisation to apply to this fund, because we wanted to recognise the specialism and the skill of some of our sole traders and some of our businesses in the county. But in terms, we would just ask for what we would normally expect, so we would ask for evidence of policies, insurance, and those sorts of things. So nothing, we don't want you to have to leap through too many holes, definitely not. Is that okay? Kelly will be able to advise you.
Thank you, Paul. Next question, please. Again, if you raise your hands, and Kelly or Anna can get you with the mic. Caroline down here. There's Anna coming to you. Anna? Anna?
No, don't ask her.
Anna, go this way to Claire, to Caroline down here, just in front of you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Caroline. Is the funding going to be ring-fenced into districts?
That's a really good question, Caroline. So basically, within our strategic and implementation plans, there are certain localities within the county that have been highlighted as being in more need than others. So the proximity of projects to those places is a consideration, but nothing is excluded. So if there's some good practice and there's a need and there's the ability to meet that need, then we would definitely discuss it. But there isn't a particular amount for Copeland or a particular amount for Eden. No, not at all. It's not quite first come, first served, but...
Is it capped as well, like is it capped to an organisation having an upper limit?
There will be, Caroline, and I think that's effectively just to make sure that we have enough opportunity to support different projects and different interventions. There'll be thresholds on an application, but also thresholds to organisations, so they could come to us with 1 or 2 projects as well. And just on the point of the reference of some of our priority places, again, on the website and within the guidance materials that we've put to support the Reconditioning Fund, we're clearly articulating where these places are. So although your base may well not be in one of those priority places, you may be reaching out to a cohort of participants that come from those communities. So I think that's always useful for us to reflect. I think for us, it's a recognition, and we came across this maybe about 3-4 years ago. We can't be everything to everyone. We just simply have to be realistic, and we therefore have to put our priority into the places and the people that are most important. But thank you for asking the question. Thank you. Kelly, you've just got your prime there with someone else, but there's also someone Emma behind you as well for the next time round. But yeah, perfect.
Hi, I was just wondering, the e-learning that you sent us, I did think was really good, and I was just wondering whether we could share it with my colleagues in the rest of the office, because I know it was sort of password protected and things like that.
So this is for the e-learning. We'll have a conversation about how to access some licenses for you. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Yeah. Please don't share licenses between you, because that would be naughty. But yeah, we can definitely have a conversation about that, Leanne. And if you've already kind of identified, and if from listening to Muir this morning you think, look at that, there's like at least 10 people in our team that could do with hearing some of that could do with addressing the way that they think and consider physical activity for older adults, then definitely this is exactly what we want. We want people to come forward and say, our team need this.
And just to add on that point, I think, although, yeah, don't share the licenses, but certainly do go out and speak about what you've learned with your colleagues. and talk about that, perhaps in the staff room or over coffee breaks, and just share that learning and inspire others to come on board. Kelly, we've got another question again. If you'd like to stand up and give your name and organisation, please.
So my name is Emma Paul, Social Business Wellbeing Project Officer for the local council. I was just wondering if local district councils can apply for the funding as well as, just as you saying, non-profit organisations can apply as well. I wasn't sure whether we would have to work with partners to apply.
What we probably look for is some sort of partnership arrangement, yeah, we would. Mainly because there is a subsidy control assessment in relation to the funding, so we need to make sure that nobody's going to kind of fall foul of that requirement. Again, another amazing conversation with the legal team, the county council. But yeah, we would probably look for collaboration in that situation, but your Copeland locality team will certainly kind of swoop in and have a conversation with you about that. The criteria kind of list it. But again, we've tried to be as open as we can to suggestions and to conversations, rather than having a specific intervention, because one size doesn't fit all, and just, again, the graphs that Colin showed you that actually, and where the older adults are doesn't necessarily match with where the need is, and so on and so forth. So we want to have that flexibility.
I have just one more question, time for one more question. I do apologise. I'm going to, before you do ask that question, I could see a couple of hands raised. Please do, by all means, drop Clare or anyone from the Active Cumbria team an email. We'll have your details are on the information that you'll be collecting on your way out. So please do, if you've got a question, hold on to it, and when you get back into the office or on a phone, just type away and raise that question, and we'll get back to you. But Kelly, I think you have a final question here.
Hi, I'm Selena. I work at Reconditioning Community Team. I was just wondering, I know we've talked about older adults all day, but I know when Colin was speaking earlier, we were talking about the deprivation in the working population. So is there any kind of bracket of age that we have to use for this fund, or can we look at kind of the working population more?
We kind of have to draw a line somewhere, so that's why the 65 plus age came from. However, there is a clause that says if you're going to be including people that are younger, then to definitely exclude them particularly. But this comes back to a conversation that I had with some colleagues from Eden earlier, that we need to recognise that it isn't too late, that things are worth doing. And we really kind of wanted to kind of reinforce that rather than necessarily looking at working age population.
Thank you for that final question. And again, just on that point, our work at Active Cumbria covers the whole life course. So if there are opportunities that you're here and cohorts of different, from early years through to middle age, then there are opportunities for us to fund through our Together Fund. And in fact, Richard and I have got a meeting tomorrow to discuss a further bid to Sport England for a small nominal amount to take us up to September of next year for some additional Together funds. So there is something for everyone in that sense. So Clare, I think with us having all our questions done, you're quick to leave the stage. It doesn't wait for me to finish. But would you just show your appreciation to Clare? So when we originally planned this event, we always wanted it to be a thought-provoking day. And I think pretty much certain that that's been the case. We wanted you to challenge yourselves and think about ageism. And we really wanted you to get to start to think about the ideas and the opportunities for the future. And hopefully, particularly in Clare's session, you've got a mechanism now to be able to think innovatively about some of the projects that you might like to be developing or scale up. And how also you might be able to connect with those all-important health partners. And hopefully, the reflections that you've just captured on the Mentimeter will be able to reflect that. I'm now going to hand over to Alex once again for a final time, who's just going to say a few words and thanks and close today's event. Over to you, Alex.
First of all, thank you very much to you all for coming this morning, and we hope that you've been inspired to join this revolution. And I hope it's given you an opportunity to consider activity into older age and to challenge society's preconceptions that we have of ageing and activity into ageing. I hope that the opportunities to network this morning have been really useful, that you've met lots of other partners and that you're going to continue to take those connections away with you today, as these could prove to be really useful in the coming months and year or two. So thank you to all the presenters today, to Samura Gray, to Colin Cox, and to all the Active Cumbria team. I think they've done a fantastic job. Could you give them all a round of applause, please? I'd like to say thank you to Bruce Lawson and Richard Johnson, and in particular to Clare Paling, who is the Active Cumbria Older Adults Lead Development Officer, and she's been the driving force which has led to the successful planning of today, and I'm sure you'll agree with me that she's done a first-class job. Thank you, Claire. And thank you to Suzanne Hamilton and all of her team at Click. It's great to have them here this morning. And we'd also like to thank the Energist team for their hospitality and in particular for their technical input. So thank you very much for coming. Bye-bye.